Hello, everyone. I am Mel Robertson, the host of the Dare to Dream Bigger Summit. We're going to learn how to harness the power of creation, get clear about your desires, and bring your biggest dream into reality. I'm so excited to share with you the expert I have chose for you today. Profound energy healer and soul activator, Alicia Power reveals direct from spirit education on how to awaken deliberately. Her own 34 years as a spiritual advisor gives her deep knowledge on the stages of soul awakening. As a former journalist, Alicia clearly communicates simple tips that change your life and help in your empowerment journey. Alicia is an international soul coach and thought leader, a master intuitive, author of numerous online courses, books, and products. She is a regular guest speaker on global telesummits and radio and is a featured writer for lifestyle magazines. After 3 decades of spiritual mastery training and teaching as a profound healer and awakener, Alicia helps people ignite their soul into high joy, freedom, power, and purpose. As a soul activator, Alicia facilitates with extraordinary senior spirit mentors who can accelerate your soul evolution and expand your soul's capacity to ascend and merge into God's source. Welcome, Alicia.
Oh, thank you, Mel. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's such an honor to have you here. I'd like to just give you an opportunity before we begin to just share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself. Would you mind doing that?
I'd love to. Now, so I was always a child really interested in God, and I was born into a religious family. My parents had come out of the war in the Second World War and in Europe and emigrated into New Zealand. And I grew up in a really big family, 5 brothers, and I was the only girl. And we had such a sort of a jolly time growing up, and Mum and Dad were so fervent in their knowing of how they just were so looked after in those turbulent times in Europe. So I came out of that springboard inside of myself of that close connection from, that model that my parents gave. At about 16 and 17, I was already searching for something, and at 18, I connected into an incredible meditation practice led by an extraordinary master spiritual teacher from India who was a real avatar, completely merged with God's source when he was about 8 years old. And just following this beautiful, beautiful spiritual teacher's teachings and moving into an ashram, giving my life to God for 6 years. It's like a nun or a priest, and living in this ashram celibate for 6 years from the age of about 21 to 26 at my most sort of fertile years. It's funny sort of thinking back, and just loving it because, the whole thing of just being completely focused on God consciousness, practicing meditation, giving your life to service to God. Some people are familiar with the word satsang, which is discourses, spiritual discourses every night. With a community, and I was giving a lot of those spiritual discourses every week, and just loving that whole sort of immersion actually into, the love of God consciousness, and it was just heavenly. I loved it. And after 6 years, that particular spiritual master, who really was just wonderful, who plugged us deeply into these incredible deep spaces of direct interface with God consciousness inside yourself. When you go really deep in meditation, you just sit there in the presence, of love, that huge ocean of love. So how extraordinary for me, I have to say, just thinking back, right from the get-go, from 18, 19, 20, 21, there I was already plugging into that and immersing myself into a framework where a huge community all around the world were already totally focused on God consciousness, which is really, in a sense, whatever we do in life, our soul really wants to plug into that. It's really what it wants to do anyway. If you look at a flower, you're looking at God consciousness. You're looking for love in someone else. So, in the contribution to humanity, you're just wanting to flow that love out towards something else. So it's all about love and it's all about God consciousness. So I was already sort of hitting that gold mine right at that early stage. And at about 33, I'd already been out of that ashram setup because he, beautiful spiritual teacher, he just closed the ashrams in the West because he just said it wasn't correct for the Western lifestyle, and we just all went, well, he said, take that connection out into the world, live a normal life. And I went, yeah, that's so wise. And so we just kept flowing, just kept surfing the wave. And at 33, it was time for me to move out of that framework of following, an external mentor, a human and an external mentor who was constantly telling me to go inside and connect. That's all he was doing. It was wonderful. But I felt it was time. I actually felt this longing, and this is actually quite interesting. I'm just remembering right now, this really fascinating time that started to kind of sort of erupt out of me, coming up from deep inside of me of, yep, I have the capacity and the knowledge and the skill, because it takes skill to sit really in stillness and just drink really deeply from that source deep inside. It's just profound. And yet there was this other aspect of me that felt that I was a journeyer, a traveler, passing through this lifetime as a soul. So I began to sort of sense a question arising inside of me of who am I as a soul? Who is this eternal aspect of me that's sitting in the car of my body and is sort of playing with the gears and, hanging out, with the steering wheel and working my life. But I don't have conscious knowledge of what the soul is, its capacities, its talents, its skills, its scope, its power. Where's it been? What kind of training has it had? What sort of talent has it got? What does it already know? Why is it so driven to contribute? What kind of colors are there in my soul? That's a little bit unique. And what's its story and what's its agenda? What's its backstory? So what I did, I knew inside of myself, and this is actually the key thing, I knew that nobody on the outside, no human, could mentor me and tell me about my soul. So there's two things there, mentoring me, like train me, but also reveal to me the story of my soul. Certainly psychics could. You could go to a psychic and they'd give you some of that story according to the tribe of spirit beings that they're connected with. But I knew that I actually I had this instinct that I needed to connect with spirit partners inside of me who, and I just had this intuition that I had to reach for, ancient eons and eons and eons and eons of ancient skill, in the spirit world, as in teachers who are just so profound, who could see the entirety of my soul and could start drip feeding the knowledge to me and rounding out my education about why I'm even here in this physical incarnation. So that was my gut instinct. And so I picked up a book, training people to connect with their spirit teachers, with their spirit guides, sat up in bed, did a little connecting exercise, felt a spirit being coming towards me, because you can feel this flush of energy, and there's something. I just want to say, all of us, we're very ancient. Everybody listening, we're very ancient. And so when you do your first moment, when you kind of go, hey, can I connect with a spirit teacher, a spirit being, you actually feel something shifting inside of yourself, and there's something in you from that ancient part of us that knows what's going on beyond your logic. And after that moment of connecting with a spirit being, there comes a time, it might take a year or so, where your logic catches up with what the ancient part of you already knows is happening. I just want to say that because I jumped into working with the spirit being, and you can ask me a bit more questions about the moment of connecting, but the spirit being that I actually connected with was a master energy healer, and over the next 2 years, he and I would partner together. So I got so used to him, kind of his aura coming into my aura together, like superimposing itself, and together we would work on people's auric fields. And I was a professional energy worker very quickly, and my capacity to know what he was saying to me became so acute and so fine-tuned, so subtle. The subtlety of it was, I was right there and I knew exactly what was going on. But it took practice. The initial stages were a little bit slow, but I persevered and gradually moved into a real fast slipstream of competence of working with this partnership with this amazing master energy worker who just would sort of guide my attention so accurately and would feed back to me what was going on, what he was doing, what the other teams of spirit technicians with me were doing. Just giving you a quick background of, it takes a little while, for that slow sort of intro time and for your logic to catch up and for you to kind of just fine-tune your inner highway, of awareness of what's coming to you and what that means. And then just very, very quickly, because the spirit worlds themselves are tweaking your own wiring and opening up that highway from their end. And your kind of gentle patience with yourself and knowing that really the spirit world is real and it's on the other side of that veil and it's actually guiding your thoughts or guiding your attention, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I remember for a whole year, this kind of split thing happening where I was gaining competency really rapidly of chatting with and getting mates with, becoming friends with, with this incredible spirit being, while at the same time, my logic was way behind. Like it was getting left in the dust. And I remember feeling this dichotomy of just holding the space patiently while my logic kept saying to me, oh, if anybody could see me waving my hands in the air, they'd think I was crazy. Here I am waving my hands in the air in incredible specific ways because the light that was coming out of my hands was getting pushed through by the spirit world into somebody else's aura, and we were kind of cutting and pasting and doing specific surgery. But, on the outside, if anybody would just walk in that room, they'd think I was crazy. But I remember my logic, I remember thinking that I just have to kind of wait and let this sort of move forward. And eventually that logic aspect of me gave up questioning, and I was so deep in the truth of what was happening and seeing the results in people. And so poor old logic just, went quiet after a while. It just switched off. In the sense of your assessment and your logic's really there because you're actually working and doing real things, in people's energy fields in terms of actually the body of their consciousness, which is the aura, the electromagnetic field, and you're working with technicians who are working right in there with those waveforms of light and the matrix of somebody's consciousness. So you're actually really on the ball and you're partnering and instructing and supporting and holding the space and watching and learning. So the logic's there, but that sort of doubt does go away. So I just wanted to mention that. Mel, did you want to ask a question?
Sure, absolutely. I loved everything you were sharing, but there's a couple things that I'd like to drill down on. And one of the things that you talked about is you'd followed a spiritual master for a really long time, about 16 years, but there came a point in your journey where you realized that it was time to shift out of the paradigm of seeking guidance from an external source and turning inwards and becoming your own master and claiming your own power. And I'd like to drill down and have you talk a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Yes. Well, there's a few things, and one of the first things that I seem to want to say is that each of you who are listening to this interview right now is a vast being of light. So I'm not sure if all of you know that. A good percentage of you will have heard this as well. But because I've looked into people's auric fields for over 2 decades in, all day, every day almost, in partnership with these detailed technicians, it's very clear to me that every single human is a walking, talking soul that's temporarily sort of moving a body, right? So it's really clear to me that I can't sort of not know that anymore. So I just want to say that all of you are these amazing eternal souls. And you're actually walking around bumping into things and bumping into people trying to see yourself. I know it sounds a bit kind of blunt, but that's actually what you're trying to do. You're trying to find mirroring in people's souls. You're trying to actually, if you looked in a mirror and looked deep into your own eyes, sometimes it's a bit scary actually because something's looking back at you.
Right.
But, through your eyes. Yeah, and that's the soul. And I just want to say that sitting in deep meditation is profound. To me, there's a package in life. It's a bit of a package. Going into deep meditation and sitting in the presence of God, Source, is part of that package. It is home. It is remembering yourself beyond the boundaries of your body, because you do kind of lose yourself in the beingness, in the isness, in that moment. And that is just beyond profound, beyond the mind, beyond the ego, beyond the logic, and you're having that direct experience. And there's something else I want to say that I have learned is essential in this lifetime, and I want everyone to write this down, everybody. And that is, it is highly valuable. In fact, it's essential that your logical self, your conscious self, reads the story of who you are for this lifetime. It's very valuable for your conscious self to mature around having read the story of who you are, meaning that to begin to learn who you are as a soul. Now, and I'm talking about the conscious mind. So when you're sitting in deep stillness and in deep meditation, it's drinking an elixir of life. You're in the experience, experiential. And I'm not talking about theory either. I'm not talking about reading a book. I'm actually talking about a second aspect of this lifetime, which is essential, and that is to begin a journey with an internal trainer who begins to wake your conscious mind up to your power. So some of you might have gone to therapy, for example. I certainly did. And
right.
I did extensive therapy. And the high value of therapy, and everybody knows this who's done therapy, this is why you do it, is that your conscious self gets empowered, because there's unconscious aspects of us that are wounded. So the reason why you go to therapy with a facilitator is that you want them to help you walk you back consciously to a point where you are disempowered, so that your conscious self could become empowered in that moment, or take the power back from to take the power back from that moment. That was a collapse moment where you felt disempowered, childhood, whatever. So it is about traveling with the conscious mind to understand self. And from my point of view, there's an aspect of life which is beyond valuable, and in a way it is the point of this life, actually. If anybody's putting their hand up, what's the purpose of life? So the purpose of life certainly is to contribute and to love, right? But there's another purpose to this life, and that is to become very empowered. And going to therapy empowers you. But there's another sort of aspect or section that I'd like to introduce here for everyone, and that is that there are invisible worlds, there are spirit worlds. Many people dismiss them or ignore them or whatever, but they are very real. When you close your eyes at night to go to sleep, the spirit worlds interact with you. Your spirit self interacts with the spirit worlds. There is a part of you that's so beyond this physical dimension. It is that vast eternal soul. It's real. It's tangible, by the way. So I just want to say that your conscious self needs to start getting empowered around that whole paradigm, because it interacts with you, it nudges your thoughts, it can actually switch off parts of you It can switch off your motivation. I'm absolutely fair dinkum in Australia. They say fair dinkum. It's true. It is true. So there's a whole skill set around competency of understanding yourself as a spirit being, as a soul, and just starting to learn a little bit about the fact that there is a spirit world that it does interact with you, and gaining competency around that and a skill set around that. So there is a learning curve and a maturity around gaining skills around who you are as a soul, finding out what your soul's journey is about in this lifetime. Your personality self has got passions and it's got skills, but your soul itself has got passions and skills. Some people don't realize that the soul is almost traveling in a slightly different aspect than your personality self. So your soul almost could have a separate and different agenda to the human you. It could, and quite often does, unless you stop for a moment, turn to your own soul and ask it. So, and then sometimes, it's amazing what that conversation reveals, because your soul could actually say something very different to what you're expecting. And I'm talking about this because there is an eternal aspect of you that's got a huge history. It's got its own self, and it needs to be chatted to and discovered and learned about. And your internal tutors, when you do open up to working with a mentor and a spirit tutor, a spirit guide. Some people call them spirit guides. I prefer tutors because, in my experience, these guys have taught me and trained me, and, teaching me is what has happened with them right from the get-go. So they're not vague. These guys are just so real to me. They just walk with me. It's like having a trainer and a teacher in your ear, that is so humble and totally committed to supporting you and growing you up and maturing you. So, and this impeccable guidance and their gentle growing you up and their patience with that and their dedication to you. Oh my God, it's just amazing. So I'm just saying that every one of you listening inside of yourself has this being and teams of beings that are waiting for you to turn around and ask for that connection and ask for that acceleration. So you were asking about that moment of having this external teacher. I just knew that how beautiful they were, that their logical mind couldn't stand in front of me and train me into my power in that next phase of my journey. That actually was my feeling. And I felt that universe pushed me out of there with a lot of love. I didn't feel any negative energy towards that spiritual master at all. I still love him to this day. But sometimes it's time to push out of the eggshell and the little chicken coming out of the eggshell. Mm-hmm. And sometimes circumstances do kick you out, But mine was a hunger, and it was this extraordinary hunger. There was this moment, I remember, Mel, which people might relate to, where it was the first time an energy healer had me on a healing table, and it was a friend, and she was doing a little bit of energy healing on me. And afterwards I sat up and a door had opened in me, and I looked at her and I could feel a profound depth in me, and I could feel my soul looking out through my eyes at her, and I could feel the hunger of my soul calling, sort of to her, but it wasn't really to her, it was just to universe. The hunger and the longing was, help me become everything I can become in this lifetime. Help me give my 100% in this lifetime. Help me grow into my full capacity to contribute in this lifetime. That was this deep, deep hunger and longing that just was pouring out of me in that moment as I was sitting up out of that energy, after that energy healing. And it was a key moment. I'll never forget it. So that's what I'm saying. And that was way after. That was actually sort of in that sort of time zone of coming out of working with and being with my external spiritual master and moving towards opening up to my inner spirit teacher. So, Mel, I'm chatting away, but I know that you've got some specific questions. Keep me on topic.
Oh, it's all good. I love that you were sharing about that because I have a similar experience. Like all my life growing up, I was always drawn to different, mentors and spiritual leaders in my life. But there came a point where that drawing towards others stopped and the calling to go inward came. And not saying that I wasn't going to get guidance from people outside myself anymore, but there was a noted shift that I wasn't receiving people in my field anymore that I was looking up to. I was being guided to go inward, and I love that shift, and I think that happens for all of us. I'm really glad that you talked about that. One of the other things that I really want to talk about that I want you to hone in on, because I think it's something that all of our audience struggles with, is that I know most of our audience has had a dream or a desire or a longing that they know that they've been calling to do all their lives, but they just, if it's a fear, they just don't have the courage to step up. What did it take for you to make that leap to actually open up to your psychic abilities, your gift to the world, and really make that leap?
Sometimes it's just a silent moment of assessment. I know it sounds a little bit kind of trite, but to notice out of 100% how deep is your longing, how deep is your love, how deep is your longing. So out of 100%, everybody listening, how deep is your longing for this lifetime to count at its max? And many of us can be caught, and I will say this really clearly, many of us can be really caught in the cobweb of distractions of challenges that are currently kind of the package of challenges that are, sort of pulling and tearing at our attention and our focus from our soul, whether it's, a tough relationship or financial or whatever. So beyond all that, and I just want to reach right through to everybody who's listening, beyond all of that, beyond all the fog of all of those distractions, is a longing profoundly deep in you, and that's why you're on this call listening, to really make this lifetime count, so that you're not treading water, so that you're not on a treadmill, so that you're not going round and round in circles and not getting anywhere. How many of you feel, honestly, that you try, but you don't really get anywhere? That your inner strength or your external reality just doesn't move forward? Or that you're disappointed? Many light workers can feel disappointed that they're not in a position where they have more reach to broadcast their light, or that their circumstances aren't ready for them to have that level of contribution, or that they don't trust themselves and self-doubt themselves. So there's quite a few factors there in terms of how are you going to fulfill this lifetime to its maximum. It's a really important question, and I'm kind of pushing into it and drilling into it for everyone listening to really feel into yourselves. How important is it for you in this lifetime that you push past all your challenges or somehow they melt away, and that you are standing ready, empowered, full of this amazing skill set of whatever's needed to be strong, clear, full of pristine light, really aware of what's happening and how everything works, and sharing that in a fearless way. There you go. That's the package.
I really love that.
So, yeah. So my journey, just really quickly, and I know that this will be valuable, and I hope I can speak it succinctly, is that the moment I connected with my spirit trainers and my spirit teachers on the inside, that became the rocket booster moment, honestly. That's the truth. Before that, there was a lot of subliminal wounding that I wasn't aware of. I certainly did my therapy. That was really important. It cracked open the ability to go into the wounding and clear and get conscious around a lot of stuff, a lot of patterns. That was fabulous, really, really fabulous. But when I connected with my spirit tutors, I want to say to everybody, my goodness, did the acceleration start Now, there was, it's a two-way thing. I plugged my attention into that. I had a really deep longing for it. I had a really deep longing to be strong, to contribute. The two things, right? Contribution, but the strength to do it, and the competency to do it. So what began to happen is that the longing plugged me into, with my attention, into the source of the training, which was staying on track with my spirit tutors, connecting with them every day, learning how to feel their information flowing back to me, spending time with them in the inner worlds, deciding to work with them really deliberately, because instinctively I knew that these guys were going to maximize this lifetime for me. Now, what began to happen is that they began to teach me how the aura worked, how people's consciousness, their thought waves, their emotion waves, their soul self sat in the aura. And how when I partnered with them as technicians and they'd go in and rewire people's aura, meaning the electromagnetic waveforms in the aura, the thought waves, the emotion waves, when they would go into memory wave patterns in the aura and rewire those, people's base, their platform of their consciousness changed. They became stronger. So they were teaching me how people could change by working on other people's auras. But at the same time, I was making myself available for them to work on my aura. And so there was this whole training that began to happen of the invisible worlds, how the quantum worlds were full of light, patterns of light and waveforms of light. And with these technicians and psychic and spiritual electricians would go in and knew exactly what to do and where everything sat and could see it all, the whole pattern of the matrix. So if I just followed them like a little puppy dog, at their heels and just watched, I began to see what was going on. And can you imagine when you go into the blueprint levels of life, right? The blueprint levels of a human, or the blueprint levels of how anything works out in our external reality. Wow. And start learning from the guys that are doing it at that coalface, at that interface, and just watch for ages, for years, for decades. So a competency builds, a strength builds on the inside. I'm just saying this to everyone. You don't have to become a spiritual healer. You don't have to become professional at this. But I do recommend that you jump in with these guys and start asking them to show you stuff about yourself, because they will very patiently and very gently start opening the books, they'll start teaching you. They'll start walking you into moments and experiences, and you'll start noticing things, and they'll start kind of helping the penny drops go deeper in you. You know, this is actually real. So this is what happened to me. And what happens over time, if you keep your attention with them, this is the truth, and this is all you need to do, is just apply your attention, swing your attention to them regularly, every day. That's all you have to do. They'll overreach back towards you, right? And they'll just take that intention that you have to work with them, and man, they'll just start gently, slowly getting you used to working with them. They'll get you used to watching. They'll just do a lot of the wiring so that you can see a bit more clearly, or it's not about seeing, it's about knowing. So where you get to know what they're doing, know how they're working, know what they're saying, know what they're kind of flowing back to you. So that whole competency build, a lot of it comes from those guys on, these spirit mentors doing a lot of the work to heal you, to strengthen you. And so when you look back over the years, you go, wow, these guys sort of change. It's like getting an oil change, and you go with a car, and get it serviced. These guys just did up my whole car, my whole aura. They just rewired it. They repopulated it with strength. And when they change a lot of the wiring, your thoughts change. I'm wanting everyone to hear this, because this is actually how it works. Your thoughts change because your thoughts are sitting on a different matrix, which is strong, full of light, because these spirit teachers and spirit technicians have just changed the wiring over time. And so your thoughts about how you work and who you think you are change. It's not about ego, but it's about having confidence that you can do something, that you can begin to contribute. And then these spirit teachers will kind of gently put into your mind an idea, a creativity, a project that suits you as a soul, because they can see who you are as a soul. So they'll kind of put a carrot in front of you, and they'll also give you the courage and the confidence to move towards it. It's not about giving your power away, but it is about walking with them towards your destiny. You see what I'm saying?
I love that.
So
yeah, and it's a common theme that we've been hearing throughout the summit. Actually, is it's just as simple as asking. All we need to do is just ask. They're there waiting for us. And
correct.
I had an energy session not long ago, and it's so funny. It's not even something that we're conscious of, but you know, she brought it to my attention before the session began that she was just guided to share with me that, you know, all the guides and angels were there with me and to remind me that they're here and they're kind of waiting, and got the visualization to think about all those guides and angels that are there with me are bigger and larger in number than a football stadium. You know, I have more than that, more than I could even fathom, cheering me on, ready to shower me with love and support. They're just waiting for me to ask. And I love that message has gone throughout this summit, and it's really getting honed in here now. So thanks so much for honing in on that some more.
Absolutely, Mel. I'm so passionate about it. Now I'm, you know, being invited on global tele-summits. I'm deeply competent. I work with the CEO levels of the spirit world. And again, you know, that whole stadium full of, you know, almost an unlimited number of, you know, levels of the spirit world and types of spirit beings. And there are so many specialists and also layers of authority in the spirit world. And just really quickly, just mentioning this because the frequency of energy that I bring when I speak is these CEO levels of the spirit world. And 2 years of working with this incredible energy being right at the beginning, after those 2 years, I got passed up to these CEO levels of the spirit world because they wanted to show me how the spirit world worked from outside the game of the spirit world that's working within this universe. So they wanted to empower me around darkness and light. They wanted to show me the rules of the game within this universe. And so these guys are creator-level beings. These are CEO beings. The authority is amazing in terms of, on our request as humans, they will come in and change things very, very, very rapidly. So this extraordinary partnering, they trained me in how to instruct them, because they love to be instructed, because it gives them permission to change things. So I'm saying this to everyone listening to sort of have this penny drop, that the spirit world is very eager, in fact, not quite desperate, but is so hungry to change the quotient of light, because there is darkness in the fields around Mother Earth and throughout this universe as well, even in the spirit universe. So there is darkness there, and they are just wanting to clean it up, and they want humans' help. And so you do have permission to instruct them to come in and make the changes and to clean up, to make sure that light is dominant. And so there's a huge story to be told, and the spirit world will, you know, give you the strength and will teach you how to work and become very, very empowered around just a very big story of what's happening. So, yeah, it is amazing. It's totally amazing. And I just want to say, Mel, I'm with you, girl, in the sense of everyone listening to this call, you have these trainers in your consciousness that are available to you. There's a whole team of them standing around you. This is a very short lifetime. You're in a virtual reality game. This is a hologram, actually. It's a quantum world. All the scientists know this. And it gets pushed around, this quantum world. Your external movie gets pushed around by your longing, by your wounding that's unconsciously sitting in the database of your consciousness. Your external movie shows up who you are. So if you start changing that sum total of who you are by allowing the spirit trainers to change your auric field, your external realities will change. They will match the cleanliness of your auric field. They will match the strength of that sum total of the light quotient in your auric field. That's the reason also why you get your spirit tutor to clean up your auric field and to strengthen your auric field so that your external realities start changing upwards and to get more optimal, because they just mirror who you are.
I love that. And I love it. I've been working with, energetic beings and light beings on my energy field for a really long time. And I love the understanding when we really consider the fact that we are light beings and we are energy. We look physical and we look like we're this solid thing, but when we really consider the energetic field that we are and just allowing the light beings to come in and do psychic surgery and clear things and move things, when I started doing that and consciously asking for energies to work with me and to clear my body and clear the blockages so I could house the light frequencies, successfully without it, putting me into distress, I went through major rapid changes. And so just showing up and asking for these energies to work with you, you're going to get results. You're going to see things happen and shift in your life.
Absolutely. And what you're saying, Mel, which is just something I just want to repeat to, hey, everyone listening, the physical world doesn't really exist. I know it sounds that's a really strong thing to say. The energy worlds are real. When you pass over out of this lifetime, you'll come back to the matrix. You'll come back to the blueprint. You'll come back to the fact that there is just an energy world and that we're all souls, we're all vast, vast spirit beings. This is the truth. This is the reality. And we are just in a very, very short, temporary moment in the physical world, in this physical dimension. What we're doing is just tuning in like a radio station to this particular dimension, which is the physical dimension. We think it's real and think it's solid, and we're in this virtual reality game where we're experiencing relationships and challenges every day, and we wake up every day and we're back here. And, I just want to say that I'd love everyone just for a moment to notice that you are a spirit being having a very temporary moment as a human, and that is the truth. And when that happens, when you have that shift of framework, you do become more empowered. You can do this throughout your day. When you have this shift of framework where you just go, oh, this is just a temporary experience I'm having as a human. And you suddenly see the colors of the flowers and the colors of the sky, and you go, wow, that's a miracle. That moment of changing your framework, it is so empowering, by the way. And if you do that and you're in the middle of a huge challenge, that huge challenge just suddenly doesn't feel that big anymore. Mm-hmm. Because there's a beautiful moment, too. I just want to say that if you suddenly notice that your soul is bigger than this life, and you could be in the middle of a huge challenge that just feels overwhelming, right? And you suddenly think, I'm a soul that's bigger than this life. Wow, what does that do to the challenge? Right. And you suddenly kind of, I'm a soul that's much bigger than this life, right? And you could be in desperation about something, and suddenly you go, oh, okay. Take a breath and you go, right, if my soul's bigger than this life, and suddenly your whole body just relaxes and, that whole sort of internal shift happens. You can think differently. It's not just a trick, a mental trick to do. It's actually the truth. And Mel, you and I, we're jumping into auric fields all the time. We're in there. We're in the energy worlds all the time, and with our spirit trainers and our spirit teachers. We're not making it up. The spirit world is real. It's way, way, way past this physical lifetime in the sense of it's bigger, it's more solid. Isn't that amazing when we can say the spirit world is more solid than this physical dimension? It's true. It is true. It is more tangible. And I'll just say right up front, everybody, when you pass over out of this physical dimension, you'll remember what I just said. It's just me to say that. But I'm just saying that you'll remember, it's the truth. That is what's real. What's permanent is what's real. So this physical dimension is temporary. It's temporary, You can reach out with your hand and touch something solid, and it feels like a real experience. And it feels really drastic for me to say that. And everybody goes, don't talk about death. Don't say that. Don't be drastic. Don't be so sort of intense. Well, guess what? I'm not being intense. I'm actually wanting to kind of push you off the cliff so that you fly.
Absolutely.
Which could feel like an intense moment of free fall. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I'm falling. And guess what? No, you're not. You're flying. You're flying. And There is something much bigger going on. Guess what that bigger thing is? You are getting pushed through a tunnel of experience, everyone. Mm-hmm. Everyone listening to this. You are being pushed through a tunnel of experience. That's all that's going on. You're in a continuum. It's like you're on a escalator, and you're just standing there and all this is happening to you. It's like one of those rides, in Disneyland, where all the ghosts come out. And it's like you're on this kind of little train. You're on these sort of train track, and it's all happening to you. So you're getting pushed through this experience. And guess what the point of it is? Resilience. Fearlessness, changing the part of you inside that gets all jelly and kind of fearful, changing that part of you inside of you that gets all afraid. So the point of pushing you through your experiences is to change that. Wow. And my spirit tutors are telling me to say that right now. By the way, they're giving me all the words anyway right now. So because I'm online with them all the time. So I'm just saying that they're telling me to say to you right up front, the point of life is for that part of us that gets afraid to no longer be there. That's nice. That's a nice thing. So that by the end of your life, you're fearless. By the end of your life, you're competent about working with fear. So that at the end of your life, you can stare fear in the face, not just as a thought and you kind of ramp yourself up to do it, but it's just the truth because you understand what it is. And you understand that you can hold the angel self that's full of light with huge competence. It's like in therapy they talk about championing your inner child. Well, this is championing your angel self, your light self, so that it can stand tall and strong, shine your light fearlessly, and understands what shadow is because it's just learned about it with your spirit tutors. And so you're not afraid of shadow because you know what it is and you know how to work with it. And so you can hold your light clearly, comfortably, strongly from a very high place where everybody can see you and you're very comfortable with that. Whether you write a book or whether you just have a bunch of people around to watch a video and you hold the space for everyone to have an aha moment out of watching a video together as a group, you become someone who mentors others in really simple ways, whether it's just at work, answering people's questions about life. So in the spirit world, there are layers of authority, and it actually is like a little hierarchical pyramid thing that goes up. It is. Everyone above is mentoring those below, and then those guys are mentoring those below, and then those guys are mentoring those below. So your soul wants to mentor. It's how it works. It's love. It's passing on love. That's how the spirit world is set up. And so your soul, everybody listening, your soul wants to love, whether it's a puppy dog or your garden or, your elderly parents, your soul wants to love, or whether it's writing a little book or I don't know, putting up a YouTube video on YouTube, just to pass it on. So it's about passing on the love and letting love come through you and putting it out there because your soul wants to love. It wants to mentor. It wants to teach. It wants to pass on the love. And if you want to experience that right now, everyone who's listening to this, put your hand up just silently in your mind and ask that your spirit tutors of love and light come to you. Now, this might not be the moment right now where you go quiet and feel their energy come to you, but you are actually saying right now with your hand up, metaphorically, that, I want that experience. And when you have a quiet moment, even if it's when you're just waking up, or you just lie down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, have a little snooze sometime, or you sit up in meditation and you actually ask for a spirit tutor to come to you of love and light, always ask for a spirit tutor of love and light. And you feel the energy coming towards you and tell them that you don't know how to connect, you don't know how to hear them, you don't know how to feel them. That's cool. They're technicians. Let them know, give them feedback all the time of how you're hearing them and whether it's not quite right, and tell them to turn the volume up, or tell them to give you a picture, or tell them to give you a stronger feeling of what's going on, or a stronger knowing. Give them feedback. Again, I'm just saying these guys are technicians. They love to get feedback and instructions from you. And treat them like partners and technicians, because that's who they are. They're in total support of you. But they're not holy. They're not up there on a pedestal, totally not. That's just a waste of time to put them up on a pedestal. These guys just want to get on with it. They just want to get on with the practicality. They want to get on with the practicality of changing you upwards. They don't have the time for any kind of bowing and scraping. They don't. Honestly, they're not interested. They're not interested in that at all. At all. They love love. They love gratitude. But it's all about the practicality of growing you up and maturing you and getting you on that pedestal yourself, so that you can broadcast your heart. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Now, I understand you are offering a fabulous free gift for everyone, and I just want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about that if you want to.
Sure. Over the many years, over the decades, my spirit tutors have partnered with me in running groups, and always in any training that I do, I'm just instantaneously giving instant transmissions from my spirit tutors. So, which is the same like today as well. So I'm just so in line with them, and they're just so kind of close in my consciousness that we're just working together, and anything I say, they're just prompting me with the thoughts constantly. So over the years, there have been so many group trainings recorded, and these are very, very powerful trainings. And I just want to say that I'd like to give everyone as a gift a whole 6 months of training. It's for free.
Wow.
These are 5-minute videos which you jump into once a week. And the extraordinary training is to connect with your own soul and learn to brainstorm with your own soul and learn to clarify your week. So week by week, you work with your soul to feel into your week and invite your soul to show you what it wants to achieve in that week. So it gets you very on purpose with your soul, in alignment with your soul. It's very, very powerful. And in each of those little 5-minute videos, there's so many skills that are taught, so many tools that are taught. So I just want to say that's my gift to you, everyone, a 6 months training. And inside that training, you'll see many other courses as well. So thank you, Mel.
Thank you so much, Alicia. That is such a wonderful gift. And I personally have already signed up for it myself and started watching the videos, and I'm really grateful for it. It's such a huge gift that you're giving to people. Thank you for that. We're just about out of time here, so I thought I'd give you just a moment if you wanted to share any last words before we went.
It is such a privilege for me to bring my spirit tutors into my consciousness so that they can say to you, everyone listening, that this lifetime is very, very, very important. Your soul has arrived in this lifetime with a very powerful, sort of passionate purpose. You may not know it, but my spirit tutors can see it, and they know that this lifetime and this time on planet Earth is actually quite unique. And there is a job to be done. And the job for you, everyone listening, is to increase the quotient of light in your auric field. And what that means is a lot of meditation, a lot of exercise maybe, a lot of getting on with spiritual healers, going to facilitators, increasing your strength, increasing your empowerment, increasing your skills around spirituality and working with your own personal spirit mentor so that they can flood your auric field really deliberately with light. And what begins to happen is that you begin to feel, and this is really, really true, you begin to feel buoyant. Buoyant, meaning that you bounce back more easily, meaning that if there's a challenge, you know how to work with that challenge faster, and you move through the challenge much faster, like amazingly faster, like 10 minutes instead of like 3 days. That is the promise of when you work with these spirit tutors. And your soul has arrived and incarnated at this time so that you can stand strong after a little bit of training and skill building with your spirit tutors. You can still stand strong and shine your light clearly and strongly. That is why you've come in this lifetime. So if you're looking for a soul purpose, or a life purpose. This is the reason you've come. So you've come to heal as rapidly as you possibly can, and you've come to increase your capacity to hold light in your auric field. I mean, it sounds a bit technical, doesn't it? But it actually is this thing that if you reach for the spirit tutors in the spirit world, they will start downloading light into your auric field rapidly. That's the reason, too, by the way, to put your hand in their hand and start working with them. And that grows you up, it matures you, and helps you stand strong with fearlessness and just with a ton of light. But also the other thing, too, is that when you connect with the spirit world, they can start prompting you and walking with you into your destiny as a contributor, as a love-filled being of light in this lifetime. And I'm pretty sure everybody on this call would love that. Just put your hand up silently. Would you love that? I'm pretty sure you'd love that, just to be filled with light, be strong, to have the skill set to work with partners in the spirit world who can strengthen you continuously. It really doesn't stop, really. And so that you can contribute fearlessly in this lifetime and just shine, 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 love, 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 give, give, give of that love and light with a lot of accuracy and precision and knowing of what works and what doesn't work. So that is why you've come. That's the last thing they wanted to say to everybody, which is actually the beginning of the journey. So everyone put your hand up, reach inside, begin the journey of acceleration. Start maturing on the inside. Start finding out who you are as a soul, like I did. And begin this journey of acceleration and be patient with yourself and just hold that space with your spirit tutors until you're beginning to feel that two-way movement of transmission between them and you back to them. You can ask them questions. You can tell them to go faster. You can tell them to go slower. It's a two-way street, and they will work with you how you need to work. And maybe the very first start is the beginning point is to heal you. Lots of lying down horizontal, telling them you've got 20 minutes and they go into your auric field and healing you. It's nearly as simple as that, really. So, and everybody, my spirit tutors are with me right now. And please feel free after this chat and after this call to call on Alicia's spirit tutors, because the guys that I work with are highly accelerated, like seriously accelerating. So if you wanted to say, hey, Alicia's spirit tutors, come and work on my auric field as you're lying down for 5 minutes or 20 minutes or something, please feel free to use that as well as a phrase, because they know. And they can feel you, and they've connected to your auric field today. They have connected to you, so just letting you know. So there's a little gift anyway, parting gift.
Thank you so much for that. It's been so wonderful to have you on the Dare to Dream Bigger Summit. Thank you so much, Alicia, for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Mel, for doing this. Oh, putting it out there. That's exactly what it's about, eh? Just, it's like standing on a rooftop and just yelling and saying, this is within everyone. It's just inside of you. You don't have to go out of your door. You don't have to find anybody else. You don't have to even find a book. I'm telling you, it's like, have a quiet moment, a moment of focus and attention, and just invite your spirit being to come towards you and begin opening up the dialoguing and trust and yeah.
Yep, and this summit is a direct result of my need to contribute and spread love. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you for your soul.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.